Good afternoon, everyone. Let's get started.
So what I wanted to do was really kind of anchor us a bit. Know that what I'm sort of presenting is thinking over the lifespan of a collective impact project. So imagining that this is going to flow through over several years, 4 to 5 years. A key consideration for you all to be thinking about is how do we bake some sustainability into this? Well, one way that you think about that is when you're developing your budget, just generally, what you need to be thinking about is how do we keep sort of the requirements of the initiative on the lower end. Be conservative, basically, in your assumptions, because there will always be, given the nature of this kind of work, emergent opportunities or emergent issues that you need to address. And so you don't want to be so budgeted tight to the line that you don't have wiggle room, if things should come up. When you're thinking about planning and keeping your requirements for the initiative generally lower, really think about what are the absolute bare bones core functions that we need to make sure that we've thought about resourcing. And so, obviously in the way that the guidelines have been created, some thought has been given to you for that, but just generally it's about thinking about engaging and building partnerships. It's about the work that you will do to facilitate dialogues, to host conversations and nurture collaboration between partners. Really, the work around building and testing and refining the community plan that you want to start rolling out that will help move and fulfill your common agenda. Is there some research and or data that you need to access or commission? And what learning and evaluation elements do you need to think about? Now, certainly, because of the benefit of how we've structured the CBYF with the intentional learning community and the consulting supports that Tamarack is providing, some of that will be taken care of for you, but it's helpful to just think about those things generally, and also what research and learning opportunities might you want to be kind of creating in the community. Okay, if we can go to the next slide. So the key principle, generally speaking, is how do you think about building shared ownership for the CBYF initiative across the different partners at your leadership table and beyond. So what this means in the context of developing a budget for your initiative is it's very, very possible for you to think about some of the operating expenses and costs related to the work you envision doing being covered through in-kind contributions from partner organizations. Some already have data, for example, or expertise that they would be willing and able to contribute to the work. And contributing in kind is one of the ways in which your partners really start to feel that sense of shared ownership alongside you for the success, the progress, and the shape of the initiative. So, don't be shy about considering not just the how do we spend the dollars we've been given and allocate funding, but also what do we already have that's a strength of our community, a strength of the partners we've begun to gather, and or other new partners we might add, and how might we bring that resource in to also support the work. So, some typical in-kind contributions that can show up are things like meeting space. Sometimes it is access to technology. Sometimes it is admin support. Sometimes you can get secondment of a person's time or expertise in a consulting kind of capacity if need be. Okay, so really think about, when you're thinking about your budget, there's the requirement that you will have to develop a budget for us to demonstrate how the funds that you are receiving as part of CBYF get utilized. But thinking about doing the work and resourcing the work, what other ways might you pull in dollars and or contributions from members? Okay, and then how do you reflect that and monitor that over time? So this is helpful if you're thinking over years. And again, this is generic, rooted in and based upon the experiences that we've seen in several collective impact style initiatives. So on, year 1, year 2, it's, typically 2 to 3 staff, but you will see by year 3, we're anticipating that you're really in the thick of implementing your community plan. And in that situation, your staffing needs may grow. So you may be thinking about and looking to either bringing on some contract staff, possibly project coordinators if you're taking a lead on, scaling up maybe a promising innovation that you tried in year 2 and you're wanting to try and take it out a little bit further. And we've tried to offer you a bit of a sense of the typical responsibilities of the staff team over the lifespan of the project. And again, hopefully what you'll start to see as well, not surprisingly, is that the resourcing for the budget will ultimately over time come from multiple sources and include that in-kind contribution from various partners. Ultimately, for sustainability and also that sense of shared ownership, successful collective impact initiatives typically do not put all their eggs in one basket. They're really thinking about and looking to ways in which they can diversify and draw from multiple funding streams at any one time. Probably one of the most mature, kind of robust collective impact initiatives that I'm aware of, for example, what they did was they designated 6 or 8 anchor institutional partners and set an amount that each of the partners contributed on an annual basis as the baseline budget of the initiative overall, and then they would go after and secure additional dollars to support the implementation of key elements of the project. So, you can think about it in that space. Is it a contribution in kind? Is it a contribution financial? Is it both over time? Now, I'm fully aware, as I'm sharing all of this, that, the current reality for many organizations and communities is quite unusual right now. So this is not necessarily there's not an expectation in this year, particularly given our current context, for you to be thinking about, tapping all these other sources, but also be thinking about it for the longer term and laying the groundwork now as the work gets clearer. Okay, if we can go to the next slide. So here again, we've put together roughly a budget that's taking those guidelines that Natalie outlined earlier and begun to put some numbers to it. Now, first and foremost, if I take a look at the amount allocated to staff, right, that's sort of reflecting the guidelines that of the 55%. And that what you want to be mindful of is not just the directives that we are providing for this national initiative, but also really aware of the local context in your community, right? And being mindful of not wanting to have salary ranges that are wildly out of whack with what similar positions are paid in your own community. So really having that blend helps you to sort of check the logic of what we're suggesting here, and we're inviting you to kind of take our guidance but then circle back and adapt it and have conversations with us along the way about where and how you've allocated things the way you have. I think the key for us is, one of the things we want to make sure is that there's a healthy balance between, it would look odd from the outside looking in at the community if 90% of the dollars that have been allocated and received as part of being a local CBYF project are earmarked for, 3 or 4 staff, and no money is available for doing the actual groundwork and engagement in the community, right? So it's really about thinking about how do you resource not just the roles, but also the work that needs to happen over the coming year. And these are just guesstimates that we're hoping you can adapt based on your own context and what you know exists in the community.